Hello, this is Ahura, and we'll be with you to review the central bank meeting in United Kingdom, decisions they made, and market reactions. So far, what we were expecting, generally the market expecting it was about the holding the current rate at 4%. That's what happened. Central Bank or Bank of England, BOE, held the rates at 4% in line with market expectation. Only there is a small surprise, and it's about the number of the votes. Majority of 7 members, they voted for holding the current rate against 8 members that market was expecting. And only 2 members, while market expecting to see only one of them, voted for 25 basis point rate cut. And 1 member more voting for the 25 basis point rate cut could be, can be read as a slightly dovish signal in a market. And that was the first thing, and the reason of initial reaction in a British pound to be slightly weaker against its crosses. But generally, again, between 2 and 7 members against each other, majority is still so high in favor of holding the current rate and slightly hawkish policies, we can say. The thing is that when we are reading the statement, central bank several times mentioned about the inflation risk. That inflation is high, inflation came slightly lower, ease, but still is high. And comparing with the other economies, British economy, among with the other 7 major economies, it has the biggest inflation rate. It has the biggest interest rate as well. Both in interest rate and inflation rate, it's at the top, which is not a good news for the economy, but it is what it is. That's why, and looking at the labor market data, especially about the average income, we can see that average income also still against about the inflation, which can support the demand slightly. That's why the central bank expecting to see the inflation in the next month at 4% in September. At this next month when the data comes 1 month with one month delay. So the central bank in United Kingdom expecting to see this inflation at 4% in September before it starts slowing down in October and November, in November and December especially. They are expecting to see the inflation to start lowering in November, December, and then continue down in 2026. Seeing that inflation at 2% targets, probably it will be later at the end of 2007, at the end of 2006 or beginning of 2007. That's why generally we are expecting to see the central bank in United Kingdom to hold the interest rate slightly higher for longer, which means a bigger gap between the policy rates that we have in other economies, including Europe, Japan, United States, with that expecting of rates cuts. We're going to have the bigger gap between these economies, between the interest rates. This spread can support the money, for sure, actually, we can say that this spread can support the carry trade. And this carry trade can increase the demand for the pound and British gilts. That can support the pound against this, against its rivals or other currencies. However, even in the short term, with the change in the number of the voters, it can get some pressures. Anyway, the central bank also decided to lower its here it was the 270. The UK government bond purchase held for monetary policy purpose. So they slowed down the sales of the selling of the bonds that they purchased earlier in 2022. So now instead of selling 100 billion pound, they are selling 70 billion pound in next 12 months each month. So that to make it slightly just like the balance between the policies and the bonds. So that's why still we can say somehow we are still more about the hawkish policies compared with the expected dovish policies. Checking the market reaction also can give this idea for us, I mean, generally, that despite or unlike the slight correction that we had right after this decision, still with the all mentioned reasons that I told you already, with all mentioned reasons, we can expect the British pound stay still positive against its crosses. So generally, we can say in a mid and a longer term, we can be more positive about the uptrend of GBP USD uptrend and the British pound power or strength against its crosses. Same negative or reverse reaction we expect in a UK stock market. This decision, for sure, cannot support the UK stock market or UK 100, or we can say FTSE. That's why you can see that during the last night, early today, the main stocks in the United States, main indices in the United States, while they were printing new all-time high, UK 100 or FTSE slowing down. So that trend sounds like a trend that can continue further. So FTSE can continue its downtrend from these levels, while the market is not sure about when central bank is going to decide to cut the rates, as it is really uncertain. I mean, the inflation is really uncertain, and they really don't know what's going on with the inflation, with the ongoing geopolitical tensions in one side, trade tensions on the other side, and also the demand in the market. So, in a short, central bank held the rates at 4% in line with expectation, with one surprise and one more voter for 25 basis point rate cut, 7 majority against 2 minority for holding the current rate and cutting the rate. So that can be positive for British pound, that can be negative for British stock market, and can continue to carry trade in favor of pound and gilts. That was the market reaction after BOE monetary policy decision. Hope it was useful for you. Talk to you soon. Bye.